All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Krogh, and thank you to all of our welcome speakers for setting the tone for today. We are going to jump right into our first session of IROC, so it is my pleasure to invite Kate Mueller, Vice President Sustainability from North Isle Copper and Gold, one of our generous gold sponsors of the conference, to introduce our first session of the day.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today, and wow, what a great way to start off the day with so much positivity and optimism. I like to think of myself as a very positive and optimistic person, so it's great to be in such great company today. So, and thank you for the warm welcome. I'm very pleased to be here representing North Isle Copper and Gold, and we're very proud to be a key sponsor of the Indigenous Resources Opportunities Conference here on Vancouver Island. Vancouver Island is home to North Isle's North Island Project, which we are in the early stages of advancing with our First Nation partners. The North Island Project represents a significant opportunity for the region, and here at North Isle, we're committed to advancing it very responsibly with a strong focus on environmental stewardship, meaningful engagement and partnership with our Indigenous Nation communities, and creating long-term value, not just for the project, but for the communities that we operate in. It's my pleasure today to introduce our two speakers. So first, we have Kerry Carlick, President of the Tahltan Central Government. He brings a strong focus of wellness and holistic approach to stewarding people, relationships, and resources. Under his leadership, the Tahltan Nation has made history with the first consent decision under BC's DRIPA framework, which is an incredible accomplishment. Joining him is Nathan Cullen, who's a seasoned public policy leader with over 2 decades of experience. He is a former federal MP, BC cabinet minister, and Nathan has led work across natural resource governance, Indigenous relations, and land stewardship. And he continues to be a support to organizations through strategic advisory work. Please join me in welcoming Kerry Carlick and Nathan Cullen for the first panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that welcome. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nathan Cullen. A real pleasure to be with you here today, and to Elder Lally, thank you for that warm welcome. Morning, Kerry.
Good morning, Nathan.
I am, as was said, a recovering politician. I am still in recovery, and I'm now 18 months free of having to worry about what my Facebook feed says. But you, my friend, are not free of that. This morning, we thought we would have a bit more of an informal conversation about what's going on in Tahltan Nation, but not just that, what its impacts have been, what you've been up to as a nation, and being an example of a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I asked Kerry this morning over coffee, standing in front of a crowd and talking, or a charging grizzly bear, which is worse? And your answer was?
I'll take the grizzly bear.
Take the grizzly bear anytime. So this is your second
panel talk ever.
Second panel talk ever. So thanks for doing this. I wondered if, to start us off, to talk about your necklace. What is it, and what's it got to do with what we're talking about here today?
So the necklace I'm wearing is an obsidian arrowhead. So it kind of speaks to Tahltan's long history with mining. And so our people very much used obsidian that they found on Mount Aziza, which is a volcano in our territory, for weapons. We used it for arrowheads, spears, knives. So it was our very first endeavor into mining, and then also with trade and commerce, right? So we used this to really expand our territory, and that's why you see Tahltan territory is 11% of British Columbia. We had a big territory, and that was partly due to the obsidian that was in there, and we used that for trade, to trade with our neighbors. It was a big thing for Tahltans to get involved in mining and trading.
I wonder, to talk about, we talk about economic reconciliation. People hear that and they automatically think about money, they think about trade agreements, they think about those things. Wondering what it means to you beyond that narrow definition?
I think it's, well, money and jobs are very important, and I don't want to downplay that, but I think now it's evolved to the place where we need to have shared decision-making to be a part of these decisions that really affect our lands and, our future. So we really need to be a part of those conversations, and it's more than just the revenue, right? It's about how can we help influence these projects, where they happen, how they happen, and just really having more of an input on that, right? We don't want to be a passenger to that. We want to be co-pilots, and we want to be helping to drive this bus as well.
That hasn't always been the case.
No.
I'm wondering, like, taking us a bit through Tahltan history, where did this start in terms of relationship to industry, relationship to that goal of it being more than just an agreement, more than, like, where did this all get going for Tahltan?
Definitely well before I was born.
Uh-huh.
So it's been a long journey, and it hasn't been an easy one. I think it's definitely started, like, we have our Tahltan Nation Development Corporation, which is about 41 years old now. So I would say it started just before that as well. We had development happen to us. I think of the Golden Bear mine in our territory where, we found out that there was just, through chance, one of our members actually saw a convoy of equipment and trucks that were heading into the Golden Bear Road. So they actually did cut off that convoy on one of the reservations in our territory down by a place called Tahltan. So they cut that whole convoy off, and then they worked out an agreement with the company there, and that was like one of the first major agreements that Tahltan worked on.
So you said something like it was happening to you.
Yep.
As a nation. What do you mean by that?
I mean, they would be like, hey, we're coming in to just do this project, like the Golden Bear, we're going up here, and that was it, right? We didn't have a chance to, like, have any concerns or any of that. Like, it was a huge issue for Tahltans, right? Just having people come into your territory and take minerals out and take stuff out rather than, like, actually helping the community and really having an opportunity to say anything about these projects. And it's been a long journey for us to get to where we are now.
So that's 40 years of building.
Yep.
And so that was a spark.
Yeah.
So out of something happening too, there's a spark and a reaction to build something. Your development corporation,
Yeah.
40 years now in existence. What happened on the governance side? Because we talk a lot about capacity, we talk a lot about governance. What came out of that? What have you inherited as a Tahltan leader to be the president? What governance have you inherited, and where did that come from?
A lot. I think it's a huge undertaking, right? And organizing yourself as a government is so key to being able to handle all of these, right? Like, we formed the central government. It had different iterations of making the Tahltan Central Council. So we organized that, right? We have 2 band councils in our territory, the Tahltan Band and the Iskoot Band. And so it was organizing, and that's where TCG was born, out of that need to really encompass the whole territory rather than just the reserve lands. So really organizing ourselves so that we can handle these big projects and these all sorts of issues.
Is it fixed? Does it continue to evolve?
It continues to evolve. It's definitely something you want to keep working on and streamlining, right? You're going to learn lessons as you go through these different processes and different issues that you come across.
You said something, talking about, the words certainty, predictability get thrown around a lot. We hear a lot from industry, this is what we're looking for. We desire these things. I've heard you talk in the past about that being based in relationship. What does it actually mean from your perspective as president of Tahltan when you say we need relationship? What does it actually mean? Because it's not a defined thing, or maybe it is for you.
For me, it's coming in early, right? We know that, like, in previous years that they would come in after the EA was done to really start having conversations with the nation. So I think really starting before any of that stuff happens, right at the beginning, and building respect with the nations and building that relationship can really drive towards certainty. I don't think certainty can be really achieved. I think predictability is a huge component to that.
Distinguish those for me, certainty and predictability. We hear them thrown around. What's the difference in your mind for that?
Well, for me, certainty is, right, there's death and taxes. Those are certain.
Okay.
But I think having predictability is what, I think benefits everyone, right? So it's, understanding that, like, this, like, say for us, they got to come in, develop a relationship with leadership, and starting right from the beginning in that process.
So that relation, like, because I'm thinking about what it's like on territory, especially relationship-wise, when companies show up, or when government, provincial or federal, you had a visit from the federal minister.
Yep.
You said this might be the first time ever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the first time a federal minister, so Minister Hodgson, came to Tahltan territory, and I was able to be on a tour with him through the communities and through the different mine sites. So I think that speaks volumes to the attention that is on Tahltan. And so really having these companies come in and be a part of the community, and not only just come in to meet with the leadership, but to meet with the broader community and contribute across all different parts of the nation, I think is huge in developing that relationship.
That's amazing to me. That's the first, that we know a federal minister to visit a territory and a people that are talked about a lot.
Yeah.
You're kind of are you the cool kid in school right now? Do you get a lot of...
It feels like it yesterday after hearing
yeah.
the premier and my big brother Dallas there talking about us as well. And
how is that for you? Let's talk personal just for a minute.
Yeah.
You're a young leader. You've come into this role. How long have you been in it now?
In July will be a year.
So not yet a year.
Not yet a year.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
The first Section 7 agreement. Yeah. Folks are very familiar with the Section 7. Do you want to explain from your perspective what that frame of an agreement means for you?
For us, it's having the consent, right, and the ability to say yes or no and to really guide what happens in our territory. So I think it was huge. Like you said, it's been a year, and it's been the biggest year of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
What surprised you most? Like, if I'd gone back 2 years and said, Kerry, you're going to be president. I'm going to call you Mr. President from now on. The whole convoy, the Secret Service, all that stuff is coming. How surprised would you have been if I had told you that a couple years ago?
Very surprised.
What were you doing?
I was a fisheries manager, so I spent about 19 years as the fisheries manager for my nation. So a couple years ago, I would have been in a stream most likely at this time of the year chasing salmon.
So what's the attention like?
It's definitely a lot coming into this, right? It's when I got into office, we had these historic agreements that were in process with, the SK Creek project and the Red Chris Block Cave expansion. And so definitely a lot of pressure coming into this and feeling like this is the first of its kind. It's so huge for Indigenous people moving forward. We really need to make sure that this works out.
Because you're first.
Yeah, we're first.
What's that, if you want to talk about it, what's that like coming from your people?
It's definitely interesting and a lot, right? It's like blazing a new trail.
Okay.
So I think, as you know, when you travel the trail more, you'll maybe change the route or to adjust things, right, to make sure it's better. And we're going to be learning all the time from this process, and we haven't really had any time to really fully absorb from the first Section 7 agreement into the next one that we're currently in the process of working through with the Red Chris Block Cave.
And you've talked a lot about community, like what we see. If we were to go through Dease Lake, if we go through Iskut right now, we wouldn't necessarily know that this is one of the most advanced nations signing the biggest agreements in the country. What does it mean in terms of what comes back to community in terms of all of these discussions you have?
I think what comes back in the community is so big now. It's a real big focus for our nation, is making sure that the benefits and the impacts, the positive impacts, happen outside of the footprint of the mine or these different projects. We want to see changes, right? As if you kind of mentioned that, if you drove into Dease Lake, it being our main hub in the nation, you would not realize that you would not think that this nation is in the heart of the Golden Triangle and is a very resource-rich nation. The social impact and the community impacts haven't caught up to the financial impacts.
I'm wondering, DRIPA is being talked a lot about right now. The Declaration Act, it was passed unanimously by a legislature. It is now divisive. There's two clear sides talking about whether it should exist or not exist. How does that factor into it? You're watching that debate happen in real time. What's that impact like for Tahltan? What's that impact like for you when folks are talking about the Declaration Act, which you're the first ones to apply this way?
I'd say I really want to make sure that we do continue down this fork, as the Premier had said. There's a lot of rhetoric around changing DRIPA, and repealing it, and some people are asking for a total scrapping of it. I don't think that's wise. I think there's definitely adjustments that can be made through that, and critiquing and refining and streamlining things, but I don't think throwing it out is the right move. I think it's a really useful tool, and I think we have, as Taltans, have shown that this actually works. It can be done right, and if it's of benefit to both sides, I think that improves everything, improves the situation for everyone, right? You want to build your partners up and people you're doing business with, and it's like in a relationship, right? If you build your partner up, your relationship flourishes and everything's better, but if you just focus on yourself and do what's best for yourself, then things don't work out so well.
You could be like a relationship counselor, man. I'm taking some other notes. What are you hearing from industry? Like the partners that you have, but also prospective partners, people coming in, because they're seeing the same debate. Are you hearing like anything from industry on that, or are they generally silent on it?
You know, we say with like Newmont, I'll use them as an example that we're working through our agreement. I think they really understand that it's working. They've seen that it works with Skeena, and they really understand that this is what works for us, and reaching like a mutual beneficial agreement together that like they're going to go through this. They've made commitments to do that, and that speaks volume to us as leadership that shows that they're willing to walk this path with us. And I think business is a lot easier to do when you're walking together.
We hear capacity is also constantly thrown around, capacity. And I hear some people get a bit capacity fatigue. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But from your side of things, what does it mean? Why does it matter? And how does it actually manifest within Taltan? Because you folks have been on a 40-year plus journey talking about these things. But when you hear capacity and you hear, how does it apply for you, and why is it something that you talk about?
Capacity is so huge, right? We know as nations that we often have, that's what a huge limiting factor is, having the people to respond to everything that we need to respond to. For us, I think of like the SK Creek project. That was a 3 or 4 year process. On our side alone, involved 42 different experts and a team that large to really pull that off, which is substantial. I know when we presented at the International Association of Impact Assessments in Quebec in the past couple of weeks, that people were astounded when we mentioned that we had 42 people working on that project. So smaller nations were just like, what the hell?
But coming from like time in provincial government, 42 people within the BC government isn't a thing, but what is it for Taltan?
It's huge, right? It takes such a draw. It's like resources are limited, and so I think really building up the nation so they have capacity to handle all of these different files and the size and the timing, right? If people want to fast track projects and streamline things and move them along quicker, we really need to have the resources and investment into capacity for nations and capacity in the governance, all those different areas that really help contribute to that.
I'm wondering, just seeing a couple questions that are coming up. Thinking about communications, what is working in discussions around resource governance projects between nations, governments, and industries, and what could be improved? So how's the talking going?
I think like communication is so key, right? With your membership, with the proponents, with the province, and really having honest conversations and having a lot of them, making sure that you're checking in all the time, because it's easy to get, have miscommunications or disagreements, and then if you're not talking these things out in an open, honest way, I think it really slows things down. So being able to communicate, I think of having issues with, say, with one of the companies or the proponents, and then having the ability to just reach out to their CEO and like, hey, like, let's just figure this out, and finding a path that works for both of us.
Does that go back to the relationship piece? Like knowing people before the applications are in, knowing people before the problems happen?
Yeah.
How's that been for you as a new leader coming in?
It's only been a lot to learn, and as I said, I was in the streams chasing salmon before this, and I don't talk too much.
How does that impact you? I mean, if that's your background as a biologist, as somebody, how does that affect you as a political leader? Because you think about a lot of things.
Yeah, no, it's huge, right? Like my life before was just protecting the environment, and that was all I wanted to do. I had definitely a different perspective, and I still have my own perspective on mining and industry, right? I think balancing that side of me with like the resource development and the economic opportunities for my people and BC and Canada in general, right? I want the country, I want the province all to succeed. I want us to all succeed together. I want that tide that raises all the ships.
You're going to love this question. What current or future projects in Tahltan territory are being developed? What's next? What are you working on next as you finish two of the biggest agreements in your nation's history?
Hopefully nothing for a little bit.
Okay. Why do you say that?
It's just like when I got into office, we had the Cascade Creek Section 7, and they had the Red Chris Block Cave Section 7, and they were like a week off in their timelines, and me and my team really looked at that and were like, felt a lot of anxiety about that and trying to pull that off. Like I said, with Skeena, that was 42 people that worked on that project, and that was already at over capacity for us. So the thought of doing both of those at the same time was, very stress-inducing.
You remind me, one of the early, I came up to Tahltan up in 04, 05, and into Dees Lake, and I went into your offices. And I said, what's going on with this, that, and the other? And one of the staff said, come with me. He took me out back to an ATCO trailer. And you could barely get the door open. And we got inside, and it was stacked. And there was a little path through the middle of the trailer. And I said, what's all this? And he said, these are applications right now. And he said, there's 1.5 of me to review these.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to tell the chiefs and the leadership as to whether these are good projects or not? And it was tens of thousands of pages of technical applications and impacts on the land, good or bad. And he said, my natural instinct is if I don't understand what the impact's going to be, he was a wildlife guy, is to say no out of caution. I'm trying to just remember that moment from like 04, 05 to now, and your ability to, as a nation, take on and judge a project when it shows up on your door. Does that feel reminiscent at all? Like, is my memory of this totally out of track, or is there something about where Tahltan have been and where they're now at?
I think it still rings true. There's a ton of exploration going on in our territory, like a huge amount. I think we have like 40, 50 different companies doing exploration at different stages, and we definitely have to prioritize as a nation with our capacity just to be able to respond to these different things, right?
40 or 50. I mean, and I'll go from the industry perspective right now. I'm exploring in your territory. What the law says, the Mineral Tenure Act, in terms of exploring and getting permit to that point is relatively straightforward. I go on my computer in Nanaimo or Vancouver and I apply and I click and I get access. What's that from your perspective in terms of, you talked about relationship, getting in early. What are your expectations of me in wanting to participate and be in your territory and potentially extract resources?
I think there's, what you're kind of speaking, there's the legalities behind things, right? There's what's legal and then there's what's right. Okay. I think, coming in early with Tahltans, I think starting off on the right foot to really come in and start engaging with leadership and having those discussions before you do anything in the territory is kind of what's, is like a green flag for Tahltans if you're coming in early before anything happens.
You're here, we see your truck, but we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Flag.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something our membership
there was a question on the screen a minute ago saying, what would your advice be to industry if you don't get a response?
Be patient with us.
Okay.
Patience.
Okay.
One of those virtues.
And I'll grab this one because in under a couple of minutes, you should be able to answer this. Do First Nations, should they have a veto? Do you believe First Nations have a veto?
I think on some of these projects, I believe in the ability to consent on projects that make sense for us, and I think having that, the responsibility that comes when you do make the decisions makes better partners, enables us to do our jobs and bring our side of the deal to fruition.
I've sometimes wondered, it's an important question, but I've sometimes wondered if it's the right question. Because when I talk to industry, I'm trying to imagine what it would be like to try to raise money on a project if there was no engagement or relationship with First Nations, or in another scenario where the First Nations are directly opposed, are publicly saying no. From an industry sort of point of view, what are the prospects of my project happening? And the veto question almost becomes not irrelevant, but to the side. Am I reading that right? Like, I'm just trying to imagine going to the bank and saying, I need $100 million for this stage of my project, and they say, okay, what are your relationships like? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, nobody wants us there. We're having a problem, and we don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Are we now in a phase where that relationship is as critical as the quality of the ore that's in the ground?
Yeah, I would say they definitely run parallel with each other. I think having those quality relationships and that, again, building that up so that you do have more certainty or predictability in your project, right? The ones that start off with successful engagement with the nations and respectful dialogue, I think definitely have a better chance of being certain or predictable.
I want to get just, and maybe towards here, back to you. This is a lot. Like, how you doing?
Doing good. It's
Okay.
definitely a lot.
It's
As
definitely
you
a
said,
lot.
A couple of years ago, I would not have expected myself to be in this position with a lot of the province, and I think now, developing a relationship with the federal government, who are all kind of watching what Tahltan are doing, is a huge pressure, and definitely something I don't take lightly and take a lot of pride in it. I think I'm very humble and honored to be in charge of the nation right now and be the voice of the Tahltan people.
Because you feel that pressure within and from without? Like, do you feel like other nations are watching?
I definitely do. I mean, the amount of times we were mentioned too in the Premier speech, I know he speaks about us often as his kind of poster child for Tripura.
Oh, yeah?
And
So you're the poster child.
it seems like that.
Okay. People are putting you up on their wall and
Maybe
thinking,
one day.
maybe one day. Oh, you have aspirations. I really appreciate how you approach this, Kerry, just in terms of the personal and the political and the leadership role. I didn't say this at the beginning. I'm a huge fan. I was very happy with your election and your ability to walk on these trails, some of them not cut, some of them brand new, and the potential you have as a nation for what comes next. I'm really grateful for what you do. I don't think it's easy. I know it's not easy what you do. I've been to your meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. If people think the legislature or question period in Parliament is raucous, no?
It's a different beast for sure. Yeah.
Well, I very much appreciate your time today. Thank you. Thanks for asking me to be here, and thanks to the conference for allowing us the space.
Yeah. No, thank you, Madhu.
Madhu, thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Nathan and President Carlick, for kicking off IROC with that excellent first session. We're going to do a quick photo and a speaker gift on behalf of the Indigenous Resource Opportunities Conference. And then we're going to get started on our first keynote address of the day. So stay in your seats, and we will get started in just a minute here.